Can we just take a moment to acknowledge Ubongani Ntanzi, who's been sitting alone in the dock for as long as Umuzi has been inside Pagati within the witness stand or box, which is literally about a month, I think. I think we're going for a month. Let me know in the comment section if I have my dates wrong. But yeah, we're almost at a month because I think they returned on the 13th of October, somewhere there. I think so, because I know it was so aligned with the Malanga Commission returning as well. And I was pulling myself in between where I was going to go. But I've managed to figure it out, okay? Be in 3 places at once. Ad hoc committee, Madlanga, SENZO MEYIWA. I've found a system. I found a system. It works. So thanks for all your support. Listen, I'm worried about Ubongani Ntanzi. He's alone. I just feel like he needs support. And don't forget that Ramasipili and him, there's this communication barrier, I would say. Is it a barrier? Limitation. Yeah, there's a communication limitation. So hopefully they iron things out. They get all their ducks in a row, because it's war. As Mzansi said, you're not going to gamble with my life, Baloyi. Okay? Don't come here and play games with me. I am listening to you. When Baloyi would turn left, Muzi would be right there. When Baloyi would turn right, Muzi would be right there. When Baloyi would try to off-ramp, Muzi would be right there. Muzi was with him continuously. He never tired. He held strong. So with Ubongani Ntanzi, I'm not sure, guys, or am I just being a pessimist? Let me know your thoughts with Ubongani Ntanzi in the comment section, because you know he's coming up. He's coming up soon, and very soon. He's coming, well, I don't know about soon, because Baloyi is still deep in the trenches. So I posted a video. Baloyi is not done. For those of you who don't follow the case from start to finish, or you've got to go to work, he's not done. He was just done with the statements. As in, yeah, I have more to do. Okay, I've got time. Something tells me he's gonna pull all the way through December with Mzansi. He hit a roadblock called the United Defense Force, when he tried to cross-examine Mzansi on Bongani Ntanzi's confession. Like, that's some Mkulukutu tendency right there. He tried to sneak it in, and the defense said, what are you doing? What are you doing? So they had to do these heads of arguments. I've already presented to you Mnisi Wemvula's heads of argument, which I believe was very short, sweet, to the point, brief, not typical Mnisi style, because you know Mnisi can go hard. But in this case, I think he just wanted to be concise. He didn't want the message to be lost in translation. And remember, he's representing accused number 1. So I think his perspective was more from Umuzi's perspective. And then now we have Ramasipili, who said, oh no, I'm not going to play with this one. Baloyi is not going to ride this one out. And we're not going to allow him to do it without giving him a fight. So I think Ramasipili gave great length reasons. He even started off by saying, my Lord, I slept so late preparing this. But the good news is you did it. You did it. Listen, I could never. The timelines that these guys have to work with is intense. Because last time, if you remember, Lolo, she was like, my Lord, I received the email from the state at midnight. They never told me that I mustn't sleep. This is a trial by ambush. I'm going to look for the clip and I'm going to insert it here.
I received another bundle of documents from the state, of which I have not been able to read them. I can see also the email was sent last night at 2300 hours, of which I was not told not to sleep and wait for this email. Unfortunately, I couldn't read it overnight. As a result, my Lord, I would like to place it on record that this is a trial by ambush, my Lord. Yesterday I had...
But let's go ahead, listen to Rams. I've given such a long intro, but shout out to my TikTok family. We just hit 7,000 followers over there on the Tickety Talk. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Facebook, we're about to reach a milestone too. Facebook, we're headed for 5K. Yes. I love it. Thank you, guys. Here goes.
As the court pleases, my Lord, I'm indebted to the court for allowing us to go and prepare heads of argument, my lord.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah.
Now, my lord, my heads, I gave it the heading common purpose or executive statement exception, whether the state can cross-examine one accused on a confession of a co-accused. We say by way of background, my lord, that the state is busy cross-examining Mr. Sibia, and in the process of doing so, it has signaled its intention to cross-examine Mr. Sibia on the statement specifically my colleague referred to Exhibit JJ, which is a statement allegedly made by Mr. Ntanzi. So it signaled its intention to cross-examine Mr. Sibia on that. And the essence of the state's argument, as I understood it yesterday, although today now they've added the second part, was that this was an executive statement made in furtherance of a common purpose. Now I hear today they are adding the second option that if it's not an executive statement, then it should be admissible against the co-accused in terms of the hearsay Evidence Act 45 of 1988, my lord.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, I'll come to this, my lord, but as a preliminary, we say that executive statements are those statements that are made by one participant to a conspiracy in the furtherance of a common purpose, and the rider is this, my lord. While that conspiracy or enterprise or common purpose is ongoing, and the executive statement is made in the execution of that conspiracy. And we say, my lord, and we must not be understood otherwise to say, those executive statements, if indeed they are executive statements, they are admissible against the co-accused, my lord. Now, I'm setting forth the statutory framework in paragraph 2 of our heads, and we say, my lord, that the admissibility of confessions and admissions in the South African criminal procedure is governed by sections 217, 218, 219, 219 capital A of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977. In brief, my lord, section 217 deals with the admissibility of confessions by the accused, which simply says a confession statement by the accused is admissible against the maker, that person. Section 218 deals with the admissibility of facts discovered by means of an inadmissible confession or statement. Section 219, and which is specific in this matter or in this argument, deals with the confession not admissible against another. And it explicitly states that no confession made by any person shall be admissible as evidence against another person.
Wild about all this is that these are learned colleagues. Yeah. Baloyi is a learned colleague. He's supposed to show, what was it Judge Racha said? Show some form of intelligence. You are lawyers. Yeah. How does Baloyi not know about section 219 and section 209? And even worse, the fact that confessions are not admissible against one another. But here Baloyi is wanting to cross-examine accused number 1 on Bongani Ntanzi's confession, meaning Baloyi really has no defense strategy, meaning he's going to cross-examine everyone. So let's say accused number 3, number 4, number 5, he's going to then cross-examine them if they take the stand on Umuzi Sibia's alleged confession, as well as Bongani Ntanzi's alleged confessions. This is absolute hogwash. It's crazy. It's thumb sucking, as Ngomezulu would say. One would be tempted to say, Advocate Baloyi has lost his mind. This is, I hope my Lord does not err in his decision, because Bondaba, we're watching you. We want to see what this one is an epic. I wonder what my Lord is going to do. He's going to come back and start yelling and screaming and telling Umnisi, no objections. He's just going to hide behind the rage. You know how it is, narcissists, how they behave. I'm not saying the judge is a narcissist, but I'm saying, you know how narcissists behave. They might be wrong, but then they start yelling and screaming at you and saying, it's your fault. It's your fault. Meanwhile, they're gaslighting you. My Lord better not come and gaslight us on Monday. This is a stern warning, okay? Put in those 50 years of experience and apply the law. That's all we want. We don't ask for much in life. Just apply the law. Let's continue listening on.
And Section 219, my Lord, deals with the admissibility of admissions by the accused. And then applying the legislative framework, we submit the following, my Lord, that with respect to Mr. Sibiya, accused number 1, the state has tendered his alleged statement as a confession in terms of Section 217 of the Criminal Procedure Act. The Honorable Court has ruled that this statement should be admissible as evidence in the trial within a trial. Furthermore, with respect to Mr. Sibiya, the state also tendered an alleged pointing out and an admission statement which, my Lord, may either fall under Section 219A or 218. Then with respect to Mr. Ntanzi, accused number 2, the state tendered 2 alleged statements made by him as confessions, and these 2, my Lord, were ruled admissible evidence against, as evidence in this matter. Paragraph 3, we just set a brief enunciation of the constitutional framework, and we refer to Section 35.3 of the Constitution, which guarantees every accused person the right to a fair trial, which includes the right to remain silent and not to be compelled to give self-incriminatory evidence. Paragraph 4 of our heads, my Lord, we set out in brief the relevant case law governing the issues that we are debating today. The first case that I refer the Honorable Court to is the case of S versus Ndlovu and others. The citation is 2000 in paragraph 2, SACR 325, and it's a decision of the Supreme Court of Appeal. We say, my Lord, in our heads that Ndlovu temporarily widened the admissibility by allowing one accused extracurricular statement to be applicable to other accused in terms of the Hearsay Evidence Act. We say, my Lord, that the court in that matter invoked the provisions of Section 31C of the Hearsay Evidence Act 45 of 1988 and allowed the extracurricular statement of one accused to be used against the co-accused. And then there were subsequent cases, my Lord, that followed Ndlovu as well in the Supreme Court, and we name them. They are S versus Ralukukwa, which is a 2008.
Sorry, is that Ravuku?
Ralukukwa.
Okay, fine.
It's 2008 in brackets 2.
Yeah.
SACR 394. It's a Supreme Court of Appeal decision. And there's a matter of Balkwell, which is BALKWELL. And another, this is the States, is a 2007, 3 All South Africa Reports, 465, a decision of the SCA as well. And there's also the case that followed Ndlovu, which is Mamusha versus S, which is a 2007, volume 4, All South African Reports. Paragraph 4.2, the Balkwell case that we mentioned above, Supra, in the judgment of Justice Ponen, in an obiter dictum. This was not a ratio decidendi, but it was an obiter dictum. He questioned the reasoning and the validity of the Ndlovu SCA judgment and stated at paragraph 34 as follows. Ndlovu Supra makes an attempt to reconcile the incongruity, the bar created by Section 219 of the Criminal Procedure Act of 1977 and the application of Section 3 of the Evidence Act. Moreover, in dealing with the constituent parts of Section 3, Ndlovu offers no guidance as to how the receipt of the extracurricular admissions, which it allows under this section, should be approached at common law for the exclusion of what role, if any, the common law safeguards should play should play. And I close quote. Then paragraph 4.3, my lord, we mentioned that the case of Litago and others, which is a 2014 in brackets 2 South African Criminal Reports 431 SCA, overturned Ndlovu, the Ndlovu case in the Supreme Court in 2014. And we submit, my lord, from our reading of Litago that there are three ratios that we can deduce from Litago case. The first one, and that is stated in Litago itself, my lord, at paragraph 445, paragraph H to paragraph I. And it says that the Ndlovu judgment was inconsistent with the common law. And the court stated as follows, and I quote paragraph 445, H to I, that the common law rule was not only an aversion to the admissibility of hearsay evidence, but it was developed because of the inherent dangers of permitting the use of extracurricular statements by one accused against another. It recognized potential conflict between the interests of the accused persons. Furthermore, because a co-accused cannot be compelled to testify, the common law appreciates that fair trial rights, including the right to fully challenge the state case, may be hampered. That is the first ratio. The second ratio, Decidendi, my lord, that we deduct from Litago is this. It says that in Ndlovu, the provisions of Section 3.2 of the Hearsay Act were glossed over. And this we find, my lord, at page 445, paragraph F to G. And it states, in Ndlovu, the High Court, the provisions of Section 3 in brackets 2 of the Act, and by the Act they mean the Hearsay Act, were glossed over. That subsection provides as follows, that Section 3.2 in brackets, 3 in brackets 2 of the hearsay evidence provides as follows. The provisions of subsection 1 shall not render admissible any evidence which is inadmissible on any ground other than that such evidence is hearsay evidence. And the final ratio that we deduce from Litago is the following, that the wording of section 219 of the CPA, 219 capital A, of the CPA provides the admission of the evidence as stated at 446 H2I as follows. Evidence of any admission made extrajudicially by any person in relation to the commission of an offense shall be admissible against him. That is what we refer to when we are espousing the legislative framework. Now, I address the issue at point, my lord, which pertains to the executive statement. And we say in paragraph 5.1 of our heads, my lord, the executive statement exception has been succinctly articulated by the Constitutional Court in S versus Mutlongo, S versus Nkosi, 2015, what's this in bracket? I'll come to that, my lord. BCLR 8687 Constitutional Court as follows, and I quote, at common law, there is an exception to the exclusion of extracurricular statements of the co-accused. If the statement constitutes an executive statement by an accused, it may be admissible against co-accused if it was made in furtherance of a common purpose or conspiracy. There must be other evidence, that is evidence aluende, to establish the existence of a common purpose before the statement can be taken into account. The state would have to pronounce on whether the common law exception survives a finding of constitutional invalidity of the admissibility of extracurricular statements of an accused against a co-accused. Now, my lord, at paragraph 5.2, we say, to give context of our admissions on this issue, we submit as follows, that it is essential to distinguish between an executive statement and a narrative statement. What constitutes an executive statement which is admissible against the co-accused, and what constitutes a narrative statement that is not admissible against the co-accused, but is only admissible against the maker. We say, my lord, executive statements are those statements made in furtherance of a common purpose, as stated in S versus Bondi or Bondi, B-O-N-D-I, 1962 in brackets 4, SA 671, a decision of the appellate division, as it was then known, at 678 D2F. That means to say, my lord, to qualify as an executive statement, the statement must be used, must form part of the data in the commission of the crime, which is what is called, it must be part of the res gestae, the facts, the commission of the offense, my lord. And we give an example there, but it is not, I must put the disclaimer, this is not my example. This example is found in Hoffman and Zeffert, my lord. And it says, for example, if A, B, and C are engaged in a common purpose and A makes a statement in furtherance of a common purpose, it will be admissible against B and C. And that was validated in the matter of R versus Mayet, 1957, 1 SA, 492, and also in the matter of S versus French Baytech, 3 SA 438 at 432 and 433. And we said that this also extends to verbal declarations made during the commission of an offense where the perpetrators act in cahoots with each other. For example, if we are committing an offense and I see somebody come here and say, hide a knife, it constitutes an executive statement, and that will be admissible against my co-accused at the time who's present with me. And the further example at 5.3, also from Hoffman and Zeffert, my lord, it says, for an example, if A and B burst into a bank, as agreed by both of them, and A exclaims, and I quote, "This is a robbery. We will shoot at anyone who resists our demands and disobeys us." Then that incriminating statement, my lord, we say, although it is actually uttered by A, must be attributed to B as well, as it was part of the mandate between them, and it was also in furtherance of a common purpose to rob the bank. And we say, indeed, that statement will then constitute an executive statement because it will be used for the furtherance of a common purpose. And we give in brackets, my lord, examples of what may constitute executive statements. For example, declarations relating to coordination, to warning, to encouragement, or concealment, as I've referred in that example before. And we say, we admit, my lord, if they are executive statements, then they'll be admissible against co-conspirators, my lord. Now we compare these executive statements with what we term narrative statements, my lord. And we say narrative statements, on the other hand, are statements which are not made in furtherance of a common purpose, but rather as an account or an admission of past events, in which case they are not admissible against anyone else but the maker of that statement. And for that proposition, the case of Banda approves. It's S versus Banda and others, 1993 SA 456B at 503 and 504. We say, my lord, narrative statements are not admissible against co-accused because admissions made in general are not vicariously admissible, but may be admissible against the person making them. Therefore, we argue, my lord, any actions or statements made to carry out a common purpose can be relevant if they are accepted. They are considered relevant executive statements, meaning they are in furtherance of common purpose. However, such statements are not admissible, merely description of confessions about things that have already happened in the past and not in furtherance of a common purpose. And importantly, my lord, and this will be found also in the toy, that importantly, before an executive statement can be admitted as evidence, the existence of a conspiracy and the accused involvement in it must be proven by evidence aluende, independent evidence. At paragraph 6, my lord, we say, importantly, a statement made after arrest does not fall within the exception because the common purpose no longer exists. And for this, my lord, we quote the matter of S versus Mangena and Another, which is a 2012 matter 2 SACR 170 GSJ at paragraph 54. The court held that the admission of such evidence is based on a rational and logical inference, which is effective if the statement was made in furtherance of a common purpose. The court found that the timing that limiting the rule in this way prevents the admission of an extracurricular statement made by one co-conspirator against another after arrest. The court noted that the principle appears generally in common law jurisdictions, as shown by the decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court. And in the court's view, the U.S. Supreme Court confirmed the exclusion of a statement made by one co-conspirator against another, once the objectives of a common purpose are no longer being pursued or capable of being pursued. I want to refer the court to this American court that they cite. It's the matter of Krulevich versus United States, and I'll spell it. It's KRULEWITC versus United States. It's a 1949 USSC 33, 336 USS 40, 1949, and it was cited with approval in Wong, Wong as in Chinese, W-O-N-G, Wong Sun, that is, Sun is S-I-S-U-N versus United States. It's a 1963 USSC 15, 371 US 41 at 490, 1963. And also they quote from a text by Wigmore, volume 4 at 1079. And I wish to quote what they said in that case, my lord, if I can find it. Sorry. If the court can indulge with me, my lord, I want to get the correct citation, the quotation from this American case. Where's my quotation? I'll come back to that, my lord, before.
You want to quote this American case of 1949?
Yes.
You're giving us the citation.
Yes,
and then they quote this case in Wong.
In Wong, yes, my lord.
You know the case of Wong, 1962. Yes. Kentridge used this case in State versus Zuma.
Okay.
You remember that case? Where they say the past and the future.
Yes.
Kentridge was saying after this constitution. He quotes this case, Wong. State versus Zuma. Anyway, I'm with you there.
Yes, because it says in essence that if an accused person is arrested and he gives a statement to the police and he was involved in a conspiracy with another accused, once he's arrested, what he tells the police does not become an executive statement, but it's a narrative statement. That is the essence of Wong and Krulevich, my lord.
All right.
Yes. Okay, and in paragraph 5.7 of our Health Mallet, we say that to ensure clarity, it is important to stress that the common law exception continues as part of our legal system. And in S versus Mhlongo and Nkosi, as quoted above, the Constitutional Court was asked to decide whether the common law rule permitting the admission of statements made by an accused outside of court in furtherance of a common purpose would violate the Constitution if used against a co-accused, but the Constitutional Court found on the facts that that matter was not ripe because the issues were not raised on the facts of that case. In paragraph 6 of our arguments, my lord, then we deal with conspiracy. And we say, in the case of Lutako, at 450B to C, the court held that, furthermore, other than when one is dealing with the vicarious admissions or statements made in furtherance of a government purpose, neither of which are applicable in the present case, it is difficult to see how one accused extracurricular statement can bind another.